Hi there, Smart Drivers. Rick with Smart Drive Test talking to you tonight about habits to keep you safe and make you a smarter driver. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Stick around. We'll be right back with that information. Hi there, Smart Drivers. Welcome back. Rick with Smart Drive Test, and DC's here, Katie's here, Bobby's here. Still having trouble with the reverse stall park. We'll help you with that, definitely, Bobby. Arun is here. Arun passed his Class 4 license in Alberta. Class 4 is bus, less than 25 passengers. And there's a pre-trip inspection. It's a bit of work to get your Class 4, but it's a first step into a commercial license. That's really great, Arun. And thank you for the endorsement. Other people helping them to get their license as well. Anything we can do to help you out would be really great. And Corey is here, Bricks for Wheels. Margaret's here from New York. Margaret, I did get your email. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do that. I need to get down to Vancouver to work on that for you. Patty is here. I'm not sure whether I'm saying your name right, but I do apologize about that if I'm not. So habits. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. And I would like to emphasize space management, keeping space around your vehicle. If you can do that, that's going to help you to become and be a safer, smarter driver. And still not happy with the way the camera's working on me here, so just bear with me here for a sec here. It's not doing what I wanted to do. Anyway, Pearson's here. Good evening. Tyson's here as well. Hello, hello, hello. So if you have questions, I'll definitely help you out. And Andre, luckily I drive a school bus, so I can't really cuss out bad drivers like I usually do. Yes, when you have other people on the bus, you got to whisper under your voice so the passengers don't hear you, especially if you have little kids on your bus and those kinds of things. So yes, definitely. All right, so the way it works here is I'll do a PowerPoint presentation. And my friend Tim is here from Drive Smart BC. And if you have any questions about regulations, laws in British Columbia relating to traffic, really great discussion over on Tim's website. So definitely have a look at Drive Smart BC there and look at Tim's website. And Tim is a retired police constable with the RCMP here in Canada. So he's got really, really awesome information over there. So definitely have a look at that. Farah, scared to do the test. What am I going to do? Farah, I would suggest that you book your driver's test and then do it anyway, okay? That's what you need to do because you're still going to be scared. You're still going to be afraid to do it, but you still need to book that date. You still need to go forward and you need to get it done. All right, so what we'll do is here we'll get over to the PowerPoint presentation. Right slide here. There we go. All right, so driving habits. Must have driving habits to keep yourself safe while you're driving. Shoulder checking on left-hand turns. Don't lose that habit of shoulder checking when you're turning left and right or moving the vehicle left and right, especially if you're in a parking lot now that we're getting into the holiday season and parking lots are busy. And I got a video here I'm going to show you that I captured on my Dashcam yesterday of a learner driver and another driver being rude and honking at the driver. And what mom did, yes, you raise the ire of Mama Bear, she's going to get at you. So this is what we're going to talk about, shoulder checking. For those of you new to Smart Drive Test, my name is Rick August. I was a truck driver through most of the 1990s, hauling freight between the United States and Canada. Canada to the United States, rather, and then back from the United States. Went to Australia in 2002 and worked on my graduate degree while I was there, and while I was going to university I worked as a bus driver for Greyhound, and so I have experience doing that as well. In 2006 I graduated with my doctorate in legal history, which is the study of policing, courts, and prisons, and my expertise is in policing as it relates to traffic. So if you want to know more about that, you can see my autobiography over at the Smart Drive Test website. Look down in the description, you can find the link to that. New video this week on reverse parking, and Bobby's still having some trouble with that, so we'll try and clear that up for him, but definitely have a look at that video and learn how to reverse park. One of the suggestions I do give you in the video is to reverse park next to another vehicle. It's going to be a lot easier than if you're trying to back into an empty space. All right, so really good video, good instruction. And today, yay me, I finished up the frequently asked questions. So 50 states, 10 provinces, and 3 territories. So I got all that done today. So they're all up. And again, for the driving test frequently asked questions, you can find the link down in the description there and get all the answers to your frequently asked questions. And if you click on the images, click on the links, that will give you much more information about the topic that I'm discussing in the short little blurb about your driving test questions in your state or province. So, driving habits to keep you safe. These are the 4 components of safer, smarter driving: space management, observation, communication, and speed management. And I'm working on conceptualizing an idea for defensive driving that is completely based around space management. That is the one thing to keep you safe. And everything else ties into that. Observation. You need to observe, you need to scan and look to be able to manage space around your vehicle. You need to communicate with other traffic, because driving is a social activity. In order to have space, request space, and take space, you need to communicate effectively with other road users that what you're doing on the roadway to have space around your vehicle, because if you're not near anything, it's less likely that you're going to hit something. And then finally, we control speed to control space, and space management trumps speed management. So therefore, it's more important to control space around your vehicle than it is to maintain the posted speed limit. So know that as well for the purposes of your driver's test. Space management, living room. This is where you live. This is where, if you don't take care of your space around your vehicle, you're going to get into trouble. If you're, especially in front, you can always control the space in front of your vehicle. And I've had students over the years say to me, oh, well, if I have space in front of the vehicle, somebody's going to take up that space. Yes, they're going to move into that space. There's no doubt about it. However, when they move into that space, they're going faster than you, so they're not going to be there for more than a couple of seconds, and you just let off the throttle and regain your space in front of your vehicle and carry on with your life. All right? Too close to other road users and fixed objects. And again, when you're tailgating other vehicles, you're too close to vehicles, you're not protecting your space to the sides, then what's going to happen is that you're relying on other drivers to keep you out of trouble, which is not something we want. We want to have control. You are the captain of the ship, so make sure that you maintain and control space around your vehicle, and you are always adjusting your speed and your lane positioning so that you have that space around your vehicle so that you're not close to other fixed objects. Predictability. You want to be predictable on the roadway, and this is why you use your mirrors, you observe well, you use your signals and those types of things. Okay? Prepare for the unexpected. It's not a matter of if somebody's going to cut you off. It's not a matter of if somebody's going to change lanes without signaling. It's a matter of when it's going to happen. But if you are going back to the one thing about driving, about managing space around your vehicle, it's simply they're going to move into your space and then they're going to be gone within a couple of seconds, and you're going to be back to protecting your space again and regaining your space around your vehicle so that you're going to stay safe. Okay, so if you have predictable actions according to the rules and culture of the roadway, you are going to be safer and other people are going to be safer. So for example, when I say predictability, the position of the vehicle on the roadway communicates the intention of the driver. For example, if the vehicle is in the left turning lane, it's most likely that that driver is going to turn left most of the time. And that's the kind of predictability that we're working towards on our roadways. It's when people are unpredictable that we get into crashes. So for example, people running red lights and those types of things, that's an unpredictable action. We don't expect people to run red lights, but they do all the time, and this is why we have traffic crashes. And remember, 40% of traffic crashes occur at intersections, so be wary at intersections and try and figure out where intersections are. So predict traffic patterns, look farther down the road, especially through controlled intersections and uncontrolled intersections. Look at turning lanes, where are vehicles in turning lanes, what is happening on the other side of the road in the other oncoming lane, because oftentimes there's construction and those types of things that forces other oncoming traffic to move out into your lane and whatnot. Crashes, look for rubberneckers and anything out of the ordinary. Know the characteristics of your vehicle and other road users, so cyclists, motorcycles, transport trucks, those types of things, they all have different capabilities and characteristics that are going to be exhibited, in the way that they accelerate, the way that they brake and stop and turn and move and those types of things, So a little Kia is going to be much more nimble than a tractor trailer unit. It's going to take up much less space. So know that a tractor trailer unit, when it's turning right, is going to be taking up a lot more space. You don't want to be getting jammed up in between the curb and the tractor trailer that's turning right. So don't squeeze yourself in there. All right. In the springtime, we're going to have motorcycles. In the summertime, you're going to have bicycles on the road. You're going to have a lot more RV units and caravans and those types of things. So think about how seasonally that traffic changes through summer, fall, winter, and those types of things. And especially now that we're coming into winter, how is traffic changing? So by predicting traffic patterns on the roadway, you can also predict the individual actions of road users. So looking farther down the road and interpreting the vehicle's movements. What is the vehicle doing? Is the driver looking around inside the cabin? You can see the driver doing that. The driver's driving slow and not really doing the speed limit, and you're wondering what they're doing, when in actuality what the driver is probably doing is looking for an address, or they're lost, or they don't know where they're going. So pay attention to your driving and have patience. We'll show you this clip here a little bit later about the learner driver. Okay, so communicate effectively. 3 flashes on the signal before you change lanes, 3 flashes before you turn right or turn left. Be proactive. If you look at the road signs, read the road signs. You know, don't be merging at the last second to trying to get over to the left for a roadway that goes from 2 lanes to 1 lane. You know, you're going to get caught up. Change your attitude. You know, we get into the cars, and unfortunately right now with COVID and the pandemic, we're all stressed out, we're all frustrated, and, you know, the car is the second personal space that we have in our life next to our home, where we can exhibit our most, you know, base emotions. And unfortunately right now, everybody's frustrated. People are not sure what's going on with the pandemic. A lot of people are out of work. They're worried about their finances and those types of things. And this is being exhibited and displayed in their driving. So, you know, increase your space, take a breath, and increase your patience, and you're going to be safer on the roadway. So for those of you who are learner drivers, for those of you who are here and are beginning to get into the vehicle and beginning to drive, develop habits that will protect you, protect your family. So shoulder checking left, shoulder checking right, every time you move the vehicle sideways, every time you turn left or right. Okay, drinking, driving, dated, and distracted driving. And I've talked about this before with young drivers. The 4 Ds. And I don't know how this happened, but the 4 Ds all come together at the same time, that young people have little experience with drinking, little experience with driving, you know, dating, and then distracted driving with cell phones and those types of things. And all of this is coming together at the same time, and it's kind of a powder keg for young people, that one of these things is not going to work out for them. And oftentimes, unfortunately, we see this with driving, and this is why we have GLP programs and GDL programs, is to try and protect young people and reduce the amount of risk that's associated with driving. So communicate well and observe well, and get the experience that you need with driving, because driving is not a spectator sport. It's something that you need to do to, you know, you need to get behind the wheel, you need to drive, and to get that experience. All right, so good luck on your driver's test, and remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. So get back over here and we will answer questions. There we go. All right, so Tyson, could I have an Ontario driver's license and an Alberta driver's license at the same time? No, you can't have 2 provincial licenses at the same time. They have a reciprocal agreement between the 2 provinces. So depending on which province you're living in, that is the license that you will have. Bobby, I'm currently trying to get a early retest date. Currently have January the 13th in Penticton, hoping to get one for Kelowna. Yeah, just keep getting on the ICBC site, Bobby, and eventually you'll get one. Latasha, road test on the 9th of December. Yeah, you're going to do great. Okay, Bobby, my examiner checked the box for space management on the road test for things I need to improve. She never told me what I needed to work on. Yeah, so essentially, Bobby, when it comes to space management, you want a 2 to 3 second following distance behind other traffic. You want to stop in traffic so you can see the tires of the vehicle in front of you making clear contact with the pavement. If you're the first one at the intersection, at a controlled intersection, stop before the stop line, before the crosswalk or sidewalk. And if those 2 conditions don't exist, then stop at the edge where the 2 roads meet. So essentially what you're doing is just stopping right before you enter the intersection. Space management, don't block an intersection. Don't enter any intersection that you can't clear. and then, you know, manage space to the sides of your vehicle if you're on a multi-lane roadway. So don't be tracking somebody else there's another vehicle right here. You know, when I was young and I was driving and didn't know anything about driving or traffic safety or those types of things, I used to think it was really cool to drive beside somebody for miles and miles, not realizing how dangerous it is. So yes, wasn't always the driving instructor. Okay, Colin, thank you for your vids, Rick. I was able to avoid 2 crashes today, both within 5 seconds. One backed out of a space without looking, and one ran a stop sign. Thank God I was paying attention. Yes, that's awesome. And yes, Tim, as Tim says, don't be afraid to refuse to ride with a bad driver. Yes, and this just doesn't go for your friends. This goes for family members and whatnot. I have a really good friend, and I was really happy to hear, like, she's kind of my second mom, and, you know, I was really happy to hear that she gave up her driver's license. Because I wouldn't drive with her. Basically, I just hold my hand out and ask her for the keys, and I would drive. But you know, if you've been to a party and you've been with your friends, and it's not just what Tim said about bad drivers, but it's also about responsibility with the GLP program and the GDL program. You know, if you come out of a house party and, you know, 6 people pile into a car with a driver that's a probationary driver, that's completely in violation of the GDL program, because you can only have one other passenger in the vehicle on a GDL program unless you're related and are family. So don't do that, because, you know, some months ago, there was this horrible crash, I believe it was in California, where there were 7 kids in an SUV. The driver was on the probationary stage of the GDL, and one of the kids in the back was killed. It wasn't, you know, just imagine the guilt that driver is going to carry around with him for the rest of his life. And so if that happens, just refuse to get in the car and say, hey, no, this isn't cool. Because, you know, unfortunately, you know, one thing can change the rest of your life. So just don't do it. Okay? Margaret, most of my driving lessons will be after sundown, and there will be a big difference once I actually drive during the day. Yes, Margaret, as one of my smart drivers said a couple of years ago, that driving at night is like driving on a different planet, and it really is. So driving, you know, learning how to drive after night, you're going to find driving in the daytime really easy after that. Coles, driver's test is next Tuesday. Any tips, advice? Yes. Excuse me. Cole, if you haven't taken driving lessons with a driving instructor, I would suggest that you book a practice driving test with a local driving school and go out with them. And that's money well spent. It's good return on investment, because they'll be able to give you feedback on your driving skills and abilities. As well, they'll be able to take you out on the test route and provide all the nuance of where the test route is in and around the test center where you'll be taking your test. So that'll really help you out a lot. Melissa, thank you, Rick. I passed my first driver's test with flying colors at 25 years old. Sincerely, thank you for all you do. And Melissa, you're most welcome. Congratulations on passing first time. That's awesome. And we're so glad that we could help out with that. That's really great. Pramod, I have my driving test during morning rush hour next week. Usually I get nervous when they do lane changes fast during rush hour. Any suggestions? Pramod, they're not really going to take you out into heavy traffic, because the driving examiner knows that it's congestion and rush hour. So most of what they're going to do is they're going to have you in residential areas for the most part. Now, they may take you out onto the busy road and whatnot, but essentially it's the same procedure and technique that you would be doing while you're practicing for your driver's test. It's 3 flashes on the signal. And, you know, if they don't create a space for you, don't back off a little bit. Most drivers will, 90% of the time. If you leave your signal on, at least minimum 3 flashes, they're going to try and help you out and create a gap for you. And if they don't do that, then just crowd the left side of the lane. Don't move out of the lane, but just move over to the left side of the lane. And then oftentimes with your signal on and you're crowding that left side of the lane, people will tend to think that you're going to start moving over, and they will make a space for you. Okay? DC, a few days ago, I had a driver cut in front of me at a red light as it turned green. It completely caught me off guard. If I was turning left, he would have rammed into my driver's side. Yeah, and, you know, goofy people do goofy things, DC, no doubt about it. So, you know, same thing with today. I was coming up to a traffic light and it turned yellow. and I probably could have gone through, but I was watching the pickup truck on the other side of the intersection in the turning lane, and just as I kind of got near the intersection, I'm thinking, oh no, he's kind of looking like he's going to come through on the yellow. So I just, you know, sort of aggressively stopped at the intersection. And you got to kind of make those calls sometimes when you're driving about, you know, what's happening at the intersection, and be very careful. Identify intersections, because as I said in the presentation, 40% of crashes happen at intersections. So don't chance it at intersections, right? Okay. Majid, for backup parking, do we have to park in one go, or can we do it a couple of times and adjust a couple of times until we achieve it in aligning car in the middle? No, you get one free pull-up on any maneuver, whether it's reverse parking or whatnot, and then after that one pull-up, then they start to deduct points. So it's not really worth it. If you got one pull-up and you don't get back in, just kind of leave it and take what you get, right? Because they're not going to fail you. And if you're a little bit, you know, if you're crooked in the space, it's not a big deal. So do what you can there. Okay. Yeah, exactly what Tim said. You still need to be observing. You can't sit idly, you know, distracted off somewhere else when you're sitting at the intersection. You got to pay attention to what's going on and those types of things, because if you're not paying attention, then all of a sudden the traffic starts to move off and you just go without with the traffic, because this happens to drivers because they just start following the traffic, and you pull out in the intersection while somebody runs the red light. You're going to get, you know, you're going to be involved in a crash. Okay, Michael, don't follow car speeds, follow what sign is showing. Not always, Michael. Sometimes it's going to be the flow of traffic is how fast you're going to be driving as well, because the traffic flow may not be the posted speed limit. So you're going to be driving to manage space around your vehicle. So remember, space management is more important than driving the posted speed limit. All right. Bobby, when I had my first road test, the light intersection was being weird. It went from red to a flashing red, and I ended up going left on a red when it was safe to go, and the examiner told me she didn't what, Bobby? Mark me for that. She didn't know what happened either. Yeah, if it goes to a flashing light, it usually means that the traffic light has stopped working, and then you treat it as a four-way stop. So that's a little bit weird. Okay. Hey, Priceless, how are you, my friend? Okay, Pramod, I come to know that test centers in Montreal taking road tests on new test routes, but not aware of exact new route. A bit nervous as I was practicing on old routes. Any suggestions? Yeah, what I suggest, Pramod, is that you book a practice driving test with a local driving school, and they'll be able to take you out, and they'll be on board with what the new test routes are, so they'll be able to help you out. So, all right, so I got a video clip here I'm going to show you. I caught this on Dashcam yesterday, and what happened was we were at the grocery store and at Superstore here in Vernon, and there was a white BMW X5 sitting beside me, and I saw the learner sticker on the back of the X5 when we got out of the car, and we came back, and when we got back in the car, the young driver was there, and she was with her mom, and I should have gone over and give her my business card and told her that I had some YouTube channels, but I could tell that she didn't have very much driving experience. Probably she shouldn't have been on the road at all. She needed to be in a parking lot working on slow speed maneuvers, which is where I would have started her. But anyway, it was kind of weird because what happened was we came out of the store parking lot, and we ended up behind her. There was a Lexus between us and the learner driver in front. So I'll play this video for you here, and you can watch that, and then we'll talk about it after I show you. She's got her nose stuck out now. The learner driver.
They're fighting, but people in the front, they're fighting.
No, she freaked out.
She stuck her middle finger at the flippin' car.
Yeah, because she was pissed off because he honked at her.
And she went to the back and stuck her middle finger.
Yeah. So The Lexus honked at the learner driver and raised the ire of Mama Bear, and Mama Bear got out and tapped on the learner sticker on the back of the car. And then she told the driver of the Lexus that he or she was number one. So unfortunately, speaking to learner drivers, first of all, for smart drivers who are learning how to drive, have you had this experience where other drivers have honked at you? What's been the reaction? I mean, as a driving instructor, I've had the same thing happen to me. Been in driving school cars, and people will honk at you. And basically, what I do is I just got out of the car and I go back and I'd be looking around under the car, see if there was something wrong with the car or something, and then I would go back and get back in the car. So, it happens. Unfortunately, it does happen, and so. There are those kinds of road rage incidents, but at the same time, and I'd like to kind of speak to all mentors and those types of things. It was very obvious that the young girl was very nervous. She wasn't ready to be on the roadway, and she, you have to give new drivers the tools of working with the primary controls, knowing where the vehicle is in space and place. So when they get out on the roadway, they've already mastered that stuff. So you need to start working in a parking lot. You need to get them going in the parking lot, so that the incidence of this is less, because I think maybe you guys can tell me better than what I can surmise, but I think that it really rattles new drivers when other drivers honk at them and are not giving them space to do what they need to do, right? And especially when, when mom gets out of the car and she's just like going off at other drivers there. So that happens too, right? So, maybe you can give me some feedback on that. Tim says entitled drivers can be fun, especially when you drive an unmarked police vehicle. Yeah, I'm sure Tim, that you had a lot of fun with that sort of stuff. Yeah. And so it was really good. So, and Corey's put up the video on how to drive a car for beginners. So, and I really suggest that you just go out and get some of those for mentors and young new people. Just go to a parking lot and drive up and down, figure out where the blind areas in your vehicle are the blind areas are. So on the passenger side and out the back, get used to the throttle, get used to the brake, the steering wheel, moving the steering wheel, and those types of things around. Because what she was doing there, and from what I can see in the video, there was no gap for her to go. Even for me, as I'm looking and I'm thinking that there's no gap there. That driver couldn't even have gone anyway. But the Lexus is like all, oh, I gotta go, and you're holding me up and honks. Well, that doesn't help anything, right? So, Margaret, the instructor told us that people will deliberately mess with you if you are in a driving school car, and sometimes when people are in the middle of taking their road test. Yes, Margaret, that unfortunately that happens, and I'm sure that it happens more in New York and other large metropolitan places, where people do those kinds of things. Same thing with teaching teaching new drivers how to drive manual cars. I mean, that's even more, even more nerve-wracking. And, it's interesting because I've been looking at some of the stuff in the UK and in Europe where they're learning to drive on manual cars. And not only are they learning to drive on manual cars, they're also taking their driver's test in a manual car. And, there's some of these test centers in and around London where the fail rate is like 75, 78%. It's really high, which is not surprising. I mean, you put a new driver in a manual vehicle and they're trying to figure out a manual transmission and figure out everything else that they got to figure out at the same time. That's a big challenge. That's a big challenge for new drivers. Priceless. Yeah, when I was learning, someone honked at me waiting to turn left, and it spooked the heck out of me. Yeah, no doubt. It rattles you. It even rattles me, and I'm a veteran driver. So, Jerson, so got my road test tomorrow in Lodi, New Jersey. Was wondering if you knew any COVID changes in New Jersey. I wear glasses, so it's hard to see with a mask on. Yeah, Jerson, you don't have contacts by any chance, do you, that you can use? Because, I totally hear you with a mask and glasses. It is really, really tough to wear a mask when you wear glasses because it totally fogs them up. Bobby, I had a police officer pull my dad over because I forgot to take the L magnet off the car. Oops. Yeah. and it's kind of funny, Bobby, saying that because, you know, I follow vehicles all the time and I see the L sticker on the back of the car, and you can tell that it's not a new driver, because you can just tell the way that new drivers are that they're learner drivers. Ibrahim, how are you doing? I'm doing awesome, and welcome to the live stream. That's awesome that you could make it. Margaret, glasses and mask. Might try maybe taping the glasses down on top and pushing my glasses all the way up so that my glasses don't fog up. Yeah, that is really a challenge for those of you who wear glasses, to try and wear a mask as well. It's tough. It's definitely challenging. Epic, if you were Jersey, check the Motor Vehicle Commission website if your road test facility is open or not. Remember, some Motor Vehicle Commission sites are closed due to COVID-19. Okay, excellent advice there. So, yes, so Jerson, have a look at the Motor Vehicle Commission website there, and that'll be able to tell you whether the test center is in fact open or not. So thanks for that, Epic. Arun, I lost control of my car on black ice. Okay, so Arun, so there's a video on black ice. It's not about how to drive on ice, but it will identify where black ice is. There's 5 places that you will find black ice. It's not, I don't believe in the term black ice. It's just ice. Bridges and overpasses freeze first. Low-lying areas, any roadway that's in shadow will have ice on it. Near bodies of water, so if the roadway goes past a lake or a river, there's going to be ice on the roadways, and then at high elevation you're going to have ice as well. Now, if you start to lose control, and this is for all the smart drivers out there, for skid control in the wintertime, if you start to lose control of the vehicle, get your foot off the throttle, get your foot off the brake. Just don't touch the brake. That's the worst thing you can do. If you start to lose control of your vehicle, is to get on the brake. So get off the throttle, get off the brake, look where you want the vehicle to go, and steer the vehicle. Make sure that you wear your seatbelt, and also put your left foot on the dead pedal. Okay, there's a dead pedal, and no, it's not for resting your foot. It's adopted from racing cars, and the reason for it is you put your left foot on it and you push back in the seat. It's called posting off the dead pedal, and it keeps you in the seat, because remember, if you're not in the seat, you can't drive the vehicle. So we don't just wear seat belts to protect us in the event of a crash. We wear a seat belt so that we stay in the driver's seat, so that we can control the vehicle in the event of an emergency. So make sure you wear your seat belt, and if you get into a situation where you are manipulating the steering wheel like crazy because you lost control because you're on ice, get your foot on the left pedal and push back in the seat. And that will help you to control the vehicle. But you need to get off the throttle, you need to get off the brake, and look where you want to go and steer the crazy. Now, the other thing that you can do is, if you do get on a bit of ice, get off into the shoulder of the road, and oftentimes you'll get a bit of traction over there and you'll be able to regain control. Now, if it's inevitable that you're going to hit something that you just can't stop crashing, that you're not going to be able to regain control, try to hit something soft as opposed to something hard. So don't drive into a brick barrier, or drive into a tree, or drive into a rock. Try and drive into a shrub or a hedge or something like that, okay? Andre, no, not steer opposite of where you're going. I think every time somebody says that, they say, it was like that Bill Cosby skit when I was growing up as a kid. When you're in a skid, turn in the direction of the skid, whatever that means, because you might be understeering or you might be oversteering. You don't know what's going on with the car, because this is all happening in a fraction of a second. Understeering is when you got your foot on the brake and you've got the steering wheel's turned, but the vehicle's not turning. Or oversteering, the back end's coming around. So no, you'll just get yourself confused. Off the throttle, off the brake, look where you want the vehicle to go. That's what you need to do when you get into a skid. Otherwise, you're just going to get yourself all confused. Just look where you want the vehicle to go. All right. Arun, yes, the dead pedal. Tim, be careful of the shoulder. It can be icy when travel lane is not. Yeah, sometimes it can be, but I have, in my experience, Tim, I've often found that especially if there's snow and the ice was caused by compact, then oftentimes you get into the bit of snow there on the shoulder, or there's gravel there, then I find that there will be traction. But like you said, again, you got to be kind of careful, but you do have to kind of get out of the main tracks to try and find some traction somewhere. And when I was talking about stuff that you could hit, traffic signs are also breakaways, so you could hit traffic signs, anything that's going to be softer than harder, okay? But, you know, again, all of this is happening in a split second, so you're trying to figure out where you're going to, you know, get the car going, and it's already an emergency situation because you've lost control because of skid control. Now, the other thing, the other place that people lose control of their vehicles is on hills, and what happens is they get on the brake and they just hold the brake for dear life, and they're not doing anything with the juggernaut because the car is just going to go wherever it wants to go. So if you're going downhill on ice, get your foot off the brake and let the tires roll, because only with the tires rolling are you going to be able to get some sort of traction. So you got to get your foot off the brake. All right. Majid, for my G test in Kitchener, Ontario, in these days, do I have to take someone, maybe a mentor, with me? Majid, as far as I know, the G tests are still a normal test with the driving examiner in the vehicle. Now, I would check on the MTO website there in Ontario to see what they're doing if they did go to a closed circuit or parking lot test. If they did go to a parking lot test or a closed circuit test, then yes, you will have to bring a mentor with you. Now, as Margaret said to me in an email that she sent me this morning, which was incredibly helpful, make sure, for those of you taking closed circuit tests and parking lot tests in the state of Ohio and Pennsylvania and Georgia and other places, and your mentor comes with you, make sure that he or she has a mask on, because if they don't have a mask on, they're not abiding by the rules that have been set in place for COVID. So you may be denied your test, okay? So make sure that everybody has masks and you're, you know, sanitizing your hands and those types of things, okay? All right. Epic, from what I am seeing, full licensed drivers forget the painted island rule when there is a left turn lane. Not sure if pulled over for doing it. Safe thing to do is to approach it by not running over it. Yes, so for the purposes of a driver's test, and if you want to stay safe and be a smarter driver, don't drive over painted islands. If you drive over them on a driver's test, you will lose major demerits. I think it's like 20 demerits for driving over a painted island, so don't do it. There are videos here on painted islands on the website, or on the YouTube channel rather. Treat it as if it's concrete. So if it's backed up out of the turning lane and around the painted island, wait in the main lane until the traffic proceeds forward and then move into the turning lane, okay? Do not drive over the painted island. You will not be successful on a driver's test, okay? Pramod, is it important to drive near posted speed limit, or a little less speed is also fine? Now remember, Pramod, if you driving too slow is as bad as driving too fast. So no, you want to be as close to the posted speed limit as possible, as long as there aren't other vehicles around and you have to maintain your space. So your speed management is directly tied to your scanning pattern. So when you're driving down the road, every 8 to 12 seconds you have a scanning pattern in place. So you're looking far down the road, in, checking your center mirror, far down the road, both shoulders, in, check your instrument panel, far down the road, in, check your left wing mirror, far down the road, check your right wing mirror, and then repeat that every 8 to 12 seconds. So every 8 to 12 seconds, you should be adjusting your speed. You can go 5 kilometers an hour over the posted speed limit, or 5 under, or 3 miles an hour. If you go much more than that, you're probably not going to be successful because you're not managing speed. And what I'll ask Corey also, Corey, if you could put up the video on speed management, controlling the gas pedal, that'll help too. So practice that. Make sure that you can drive at a constant speed. And if you're not driving as close to the posted speed limit as you can, then you're managing space because the traffic flow in front of you has slowed down. All right, Singh, who gets to turn? The car that has green light in the right lane or the car in the oncoming direction already waiting to turn left. Now, if there's an advanced green for the traffic on the other side of the intersection, then they have the right of way. If there isn't an advanced green on the other side and they're just waiting to turn left, then you have the right of way as the right turning traffic. That's the way that that works. All right. Corey, thanks for putting up the Painted Island video. That's great. All right. So, Bobby, I heard in school zones you can drive 27 kilometers an hour. If you drive like 32 or 33, I believe you will fail on major roads. All right. And just adding to what Bobby just said about school zones. Now, school zones are the one place that you can drive a little bit slower, okay? Because it's so rigid with school zones. If you speed in a school zone, it's an automatic fail in a driver's test. So if it's 25 kilometers an hour here in Canada, or it's 20 miles an hour in the States, if you drive a couple of miles an hour under the speed limit for the school zone until you get out of the school zone, that's going to be safer than going a little bit faster in the school zone. Okay, so be very careful in school zones. The other places that you can go a little bit slower are, you're on a residential street with cars parked on both sides and there's very narrow space. You can go a little bit slower. The other place that you can go a bit slower is if you're in a high pedestrian area. For example, you're around box stores and there's lots of traffic and whatnot, then you're good to go a little bit slower. Okay, so in New York, Margaret's saying that it's 15 miles an hour there, so it's a little bit slower. And so again, this is the other thing, that when you take a practice driving test with a local driving school, they can take you out and they can show you where the school zones are, and they can give you specific information about that and how to handle those, okay? Parminder, I failed in BC because my speed was 45 in a 50 zone during rain. Examiners are very strict. Yes, and 45 in rain, you are... okay, so I can't comment on that, Parminder, but that seems... Yeah, 5 miles an hour. If you are driving 5 kilometers an hour for the entire test, then you are definitely not going to be successful, especially depending on how heavy the rain is. It's going to depend on a lot of factors there, so that's what's going to be going on. And to you as well, Catherine. Happy Sunday to you. Thank you so much for that. No, what happened, Derby, was he was driving 45 kilometers an hour in a 50 zone, so he was 5 kilometers an hour under the speed limit. Now, if he did that for the entire duration of the test, then he was not going to be successful, because you need to be as close as possible to the posted speed limit. And again, I come back to your speed management is directly tied to your scanning pattern. So make sure that you practice your speed control. Okay? All right. Excellent. So lots going on here. And please throw more light on railways. So railway crossings. What is it, Peter, that you want to know about railway crossings? So basically you just got to obey the signs at the railway crossing. So you want to stop 15 feet or 3 meters from the railway crossing. Come to if the signs are there, stop, wait for the train to go through. When the signs go, when the lights stop flashing, the gates go up, then you can proceed. Here in here in Vernon, we have railway crossings. And we have stop signs at the railway crossings, and you have to come to a complete stop. It's the same as an intersection. You just come to a complete stop, scan the railway crossing, make sure there aren't any trains, and then proceed. So that's basically what I can tell you about railways, unless you had something else you wanted to know about railways. Double tracks. If you are in an area where they have double tracks, then definitely be very careful if one train goes through and that you proceed. Well, the other train could be hidden behind the first train that went through. So make sure that before you proceed across there, that you don't get dinged by the second train. There's plenty of YouTube videos where that has happened. So be very careful. Ibrahim, Rick, my driving test is in 1 week and I live in North Dakota. I hope it doesn't snow. Ibrahim, you're going to be great regardless of whether it snows or not, my friend. You're going to do awesome. Epic, the U.S. speed limit in school zones is 20 to 25 miles per hour. Since they depend on states, and in your website, New Jersey max speed is 65 miles an hour, not 50 miles an hour on certain freeways. So Epic, are you saying that it's incorrect on the frequently asked questions? Because I'm pretty sure I put 55 miles an hour. Yeah. Just adding to what Epic was saying, I have learned so much about reading driving manuals from all 50 states and trying to figure out speed limits. Just like, it's just crazy. Like, I feel for new drivers trying to read these driving manuals. Like the state of Oklahoma, like I wish I had have written it down, because there was one state I was just like, what does that even mean? I couldn't even figure it out. I was like, what does that mean? Like, and then they'll list every speed limit for every different place. It's just like, oh my God, it's just like crazy. And it was trying to figure out the speed limits outside cities and inside cities. It's just nuts. Okay. Fatima, I had a question. I did my G1 in July. When should I actually learn on the road? Learning says 3 months prior to date. Please advise. Fatima, I would encourage you to be driving as much as you can, and the more practice that you can get in, leading up to your test, then you're gonna be a lot better off once you get to your driving test, because you're gonna have a lot more driving experience. No, I wouldn't say wait for 3 months before your test. I would say, take every opportunity that you can to be driving and drive different vehicles and those types of things. Now, 2 to 3 months before your driving test, then, really buckle down, stay in the same vehicle, work with the same mentors, work with the same instructors, and then really prepare for your driving test. That's going to be better off. But right now, as you're leading up to your driving test, just take get as much experience as you can. And the other thing I would suggest to you as well is to book a driving test and take your driving test in the wintertime. It's a lot easier to take your driving test in the wintertime than it is to take it in the summertime. It's a lot less exact for so many things. You don't have to parallel park. You don't have to be 6 to 12 inches from the curb. You don't have to stop at the stop line. You just stop before the sidewalk and then proceed. It's way easier. And I would really I would encourage you to take your test in the wintertime. And that goes for all the other smart drivers as well. If you can take your test in the wintertime, take your test in the wintertime. Tim, 2 tracks could mean 2 trains. Don't go without taking care. Yes. I've seen some even tractor trailers get caught out on double tracks where they just clean up. And remember, trains take like a mile to stop. And so it can be dangerous. Arun, in snow, more chance of passing. It's my experience last month in Alberta. Yes, excellent. Thank you. Singh, do I need to slow down while crossing railway crossings in a tractor trailer during CDL test? Yes, you do, because Singh, you cannot change gears on railway crossings in manual transmission. So that includes tractor trailers as well. And you're going to be wanting to be going a little bit slower too, because railway crossings, as a rule, are rough. So you want to slow down a little bit. Okay? Oh, Corey, you have no idea. Oh, some of those manuals, I was just like, really? What? Like, oh my God, and trying to figure out speeds, and they're not clear. Like, I know because of what smart drivers have told me about Quebec City, not Quebec City, the province of Quebec. You can't turn right on a red light on the island of Montreal proper. That's the only place that you can't turn right in Canada. And then, of course, in the States, and it was like, sometimes it would be buried in the red light section, and other times it would be buried in the right turn section. So it was an interesting travel through all the manuals, that's for sure. Hanny, what is the RPM of the engine during crossing the intersections under control by traffic light? Is it the RPM that you're looking for, or is it a speed that you're looking for going through an intersection? Essentially, when you from a dead stop, you want to try and get the vehicle up to the posted speed limit as quickly as possible. So you don't want to dawdle when you're accelerating from a dead stop, when you're making a turn or those types of things. Tara Skip, how are you, my friend? Hello, hi. Definitely get a hi. Majid, when merging, my heartbeats go so fast I get nervous. Give me some tips. Okay, so merging, yes, I can understand why merging will tend to freak you out. It can be kind of a freaking out thing. So you got to put your signal on. You got to check the traffic, and you got to get your foot into it. You got to get the vehicle going so that you can get up and match the speed of the traffic on the highway. And it's important to pick your gap, okay? You want to pick your gap, and you want to aim for that gap. Remember, the onus of responsibility for merging onto a highway or freeway is on the merging driver. However, if you do everything right, if you got your signal on nice and early, you're communicating with traffic on the highway, they'll do what they can to help you out. However, they can't always help you out. Okay, sometimes they got jammed up, they can't get over, but they can slow down a little bit, you know, and they'll let off 2 or 3 miles an hour. But you got to be into the gas pedal. You got to be metal to the pedal, pedal to the metal, whatever, and gassing on it so that you're accelerating. Because if you're accelerating and they let off a little bit, then you're going to get out onto the freeway. But I know that it's a bit intimidating for new drivers and drivers that don't have a lot of experience when they're merging out onto highways or freeways. But you gotta commit. It's a little bit like a hockey stop on ice skates when you're learning how to skate. You gotta kind of just do it. So, and what I would suggest is go out early in the morning or later at night when traffic isn't as busy, and then you can practice when it's low density traffic and it's going to be easier for you to get all the components and pieces in place before you try doing that in busy traffic. Okay? And Corey's put up the video there, the new video that I did in Vancouver for you. Okay, Tyson, I had to wait for months for my G2 test because of COVID-19. The test dates were all booked up. And, you know, Tyson, unfortunately, I don't see any of this getting any better in the immediate future, at least until the vaccine is readily available. And like I said last week, I'm a bit afraid that when Biden takes office in the States, that he is going to close down the American economy for a period of time. And I don't know why that we think that this is going to work. The shutdown didn't work the first time. How do we think it's going to work now? And I just don't know what they're going to do. Okay, Tim, all the best, my friend. Have a great night. Enjoy your dinner, my friend. Okay, Terraskip, for my G2, is it okay to go a bit over or slower the speed limit? Any tips to control speed? Yeah, so Terraskip, scroll back up through the comments there. Corey's put the video up on how to control the gas pedal, and as well, know that your speed control is directly linked to your scanning pattern. So you're repeating your scanning pattern every 8 to 12 seconds in a forward motion. So you're looking far down the road, in, check your center mirror, far down the road, in, check your instrument panel, far down the road, check your left wing mirror, far down the road, check your right wing mirror. And so your scanning pattern is directly linked to speed management because you're checking your instrument panel every 8 to 12 seconds. If you're not changing or managing and controlling your speed every 8 to 12 seconds, that tells the examiner that you don't have a scanning pattern in place. So this is what you need to be doing. Shade, kindly repeat the maneuvers that are not taking during the winter time. Okay, so in the winter time, Shade, you don't have to be 8 to 12 inches from the curb for parallel parking. You just have to be in behind the vehicle in front of you, all right? Because driving examiners will not push you out of a snowbank. They just don't. Whatever reason, I don't know what it is, but if you get stuck in a snowbank, they're just going to get out of the car and they're going to walk back to the test center. So you want to stay out of the snowbank. So you basically just have to get in behind the car in front of you. That's all you have to do. Again, when you come up to an intersection, you don't have to stop at the stop line because there's snow and ice on the roadway and you can't see the stop line. So you basically, if there's a sidewalk there, you just stop before the sidewalk. If there isn't a sidewalk, then you just pull up until you get to the edge of the intersection, come to a complete stop, and then inch forward until you can see clearly the cross traffic, and then proceed after you go nice and slow and make sure that you can see in the intersection. Now, again, if there's lots of snow on the road, they're not going to make you do crazy things, right? They're not going to take you into a parking lot that hasn't been plowed and those types of things. So, and also you can probably go a little bit slower in the wintertime if there's ice and snow on the roadways and whatnot, but trust me, it's easier to take your driver's test in the wintertime. It's less exact, so therefore your chances of passing the driver's test are higher in the wintertime. The other thing right now, especially with COVID and the pandemic, it's more likely that you're going to get a test date in the wintertime than it will if you wait until the spring when the roads are clear again, because everybody is going to be taking their driving test at that time. Okay? How long is the G2 test? The G2 test is anywhere from 15 minutes to a half an hour, depending on who the driving examiner is. And I've even heard, depending on where you are and what driving examiner is, your driving test for the G there in the United States could be up to 40 minutes. Okay. Pramod, good night, my friend. All the best. Okay, Emma, can you do a video on how to cancel a booked road test, please? Thank you. Emma, where are you in the world that you want to book a road test? And why are you booking your road test? Just curious. Okay, Corey, on the optimistic side, seems quite a few organizations have vaccines cooked up and ready, very close to ready. Yeah, and I'm really hoping that's what's happening, Corey. Majid, 10 kilometers up or down of posted speed limit is a fail or pass. It's definitely a fail. 10 kilometers an hour is far too much to be outside of the posted speed limit. Majid, it's just too much. Lawrence, tips for easy safety change of lanes. Okay, so changing lanes. Okay, so mirror signal shoulder check. You got your signal on. You're looking forward. 3 flashes on the signal minimum. Mirror signal shoulder check again. Make sure that you got your gap. You know, that in the mirror, the car should be in the top third of the mirror. And that's just an approximation. So you got your gap, you got your signal on, you start moving over. Just before you start move from one lane to the other, shoulder check again. Keep your signal on all the way till you get in the other lane. You're going to have to accelerate slightly when you're moving from one lane to the other because you're covering more distance because you're on an angle. And then you get completely in the other lane. When you get completely in the other lane, then you turn off your signal. And again, if you're having trouble with lane changes, and Corey will put the video up for you on lane changes, which will give you far more information about that. Do it when traffic is low density. So go out in the morning, go out in the afternoon, and that way, excuse me, you know, it's a lot easier for you because you're not dealing with a whole bunch of other traffic and those types of things. Okay. Humain, any tips for doing a road test in the rain? Yes, Corey's put the video up for you on how to drive safely in the rain. Tyson, I don't know if you ever heard Belleville, Ontario, but that's where I'm going for my G2. Yes, Belleville, Ontario. I grew up in Ontario, and I was a driving instructor first and foremost in Ontario, so I've been all up and down that area. Margaret, I hope it snows during one of my driving lessons so I can learn how to control the car on slippery roads. And even if you don't, Margaret, what you could do is if it does snow, just go out to the parking lot and, you know, do some fun stuff in the parking lot. So that'll be lots of fun there in New York. Okay. Katie, I speed when I practice driving in the parking lot, even going 10 miles an hour. Yeah, so that's, Katie, I didn't completely understand that. So you say you're speeding. Okay. So maybe you're having some trouble controlling the speed there in the parking lot. But yeah, so we're getting near the end here. If you have any questions or comments, leave a comment or down in the description there and I'll get back to you. Definitely help you out. Send me an email, rick@smartdrivetest.com, and we'll definitely help you out. Kajin, I passed my test right before Thanksgiving. I lost the temporary license, so now I'm waiting for the final in the mail. And thank you for your vids. You are very welcome. Lobster, how was jiu-jitsu last week? Lobster, jiu-jitsu was great last week. I went 4 times. And I went to Nogi on Thursday, and I was working with a guy who was a wrestler. He has a wrestling background. And he got control of my legs and just like dominated me. Of course, he's a purple belt. And then I tried it on one of my colleagues on Friday, and I got completely burned. I just got so burned. So jiu-jitsu was good. Okay. James, any pointers for making proper turns, avoiding wide, narrow turns in tight residential streets? James, what I would suggest is if you're having trouble with turns wide or short, or narrow rather, then go and get those 36-inch, 1 meter tall pylons and go and work in the parking lot. And scroll through here. Corey's probably put the video up on how to drive a car for beginners. But definitely work in the parking lot with those, and that'll help you with learning where your vehicle is in space and place and mastery of the primary controls, and it'll fix that problem for you. Okay? Rune, you're most welcome. Thank you for tuning in and being part of the live stream. Kimberly, what happens if you forget to use your signals once on your driver's test? Will the examiner fail you for that? No. Kimberly, they won't fail you that. You'll just be assigned a couple of demerits. They will not fail you for forgetting to use your signals. If you do it consistently, then yes. Justin, thank you for the super chat. That's awesome. Thank you, my friend. Brilliant. I love the sticker. Katie, controlling the speed when driving in the parking lot the first time. Yeah, okay, Katie, that's just a matter of continuing to practice and continuing to learn, and you're going to be really great. So there, Margaret's got some of the demerits. Signals 5 points each time, 30 points to fail the test. Okay, so you need to forget your signal 6 times before you're going to fail the test. Sammer, thanks, man. Your advice helped me pass my test. You're most welcome. And so somebody asked me about automatic fails on a driving test. Entering an intersection you can't clear. If the examiner takes control of the vehicle. If other drivers have to take evasive action, that's an automatic fail. If you strike a fixed object on a driver's test, that's an automatic fail on a road test. Speeding in a school zone is an automatic fail on a driver's test, and there's a bunch more we could go over. But definitely, if you want to know more about frequently asked questions on driver's tests, head over to the Smart Drive Test website and check out the frequently asked questions for your state or province over there. You can find the link down in the description. Excellent, Justin. Yes, CF truck in the background. I picked that up. I think, yeah, I got that about a couple of years ago. Okay, Priceless, thanks for the stream. I always enjoy them, and you are most welcome. Thank you, everybody. Congratulations to those that have passed a driver's test in the last couple of weeks, and good luck to everybody that has a driver's test coming up in the next week or so. And remember, pick the best answer, not necessarily the right answer. Have a great night. Bye now.